Okay, so today I will be reading the 48 Laws of Power. Um, I'm gonna be reading it in chapters, sections, and parts, and posting it to YouTube. This is so that, you know, if you want to podcast it, just listen to it, while you're doing something. This is me kind of just reading it, staying knowledgeable, and learning. And so if you want to join, it'd be nice to have you. So yeah, let me actually put some like uncopyrighted like rain sounds in the background. I feel like that'd be so tough, no? Hold on. Let's see. Uncopyright. No. I mess with rain sounds heavy. Alright, so, because I gotta go in a minute, so. God, it's loud. Can I get some lighter? Can we get some, like, lighter rain sounds? I mess with that, I guess. We'll see. Okay. So, today I'm going to be reading the 48 Laws of Power, starting from Law 1. Definitely won't be able to finish it all, but we're gonna get to where we get. So actually, not Law 1. I'm starting at the preface. All right. The feeling of having no power over people and events is generally unbearable to us. When we feel helpless, we feel miserable. No one wants less power, everyone wants more. In the world today, however, it is dangerous to seem too power hungry, to be overt with your power moves. We have to seem fair and decent, so we need to be subtle, congenial, yet cunning, democratic yet devious. This game is constant duplicity most resembles The game of constant duplicity most resembles the power dynamic that existed in the scheming world of the old aristocratic court. Throughout history, a court has always formed itself around the person in power: king, queen, emperor, leader. The courtiers who filled this court were in a especially delicate position. They had to serve their masters, but if they seemed too fond, if they curried favor too obviously, the other courtiers around them would notice and would act against them. Attempts to win the master's favor then had to be subtle, and even skilled courtiers capable of and subtly such su- capable of such subtlety still had to protect themselves from their fellow courtiers, who at all moments were scheming to push them aside. Meanwhile, the court was supposed to represent the height of civilization and refinement. Violent or overt power moves were frowned upon. Courtiers would work silently and secretly against any among them who used force. This was the quarters dilemma. While appearing the very paragon of elegance, they had to outwit and thwart their own opponents in the subtlest of ways. The successful quarter learned over time to make all of his moves indirect. If he stabbed an opponent in the back, it was with a velvet glove on his hand and the sweetest of smiles on his face. Instead of using coercion, or outright treachery, the perfect quarter got his way through seduction, charm, deception, and subtle strategy, always planning several moves ahead. Life in the court was a never ending game that required constant vigilance and tactical thinking. It was a civilized war. Today, we face a peculiar similar paradox to those of the quarter. Everything must appear civilized, decent, democratic, and fair. But if we play by those rules too strictly, if we take them too lightly, we are crushed by those around us who are not so foolish. As the great Renaissance diplomat and courtier Niccolo Machiavelli wrote, any man who tries to be good all the time is bound to come to ruin among the great numbers who are not good. Let me read that again because I fucked it up. Any man who tries to be good all the time is bound to come to ruin among the great number who are not good. The court imagined itself the pinnacle of refinement, but underneath its glimmering surface, a cauldron of dark emotions, greed, envy, lust, hatred, boiled and simmered. Our world today similarly imagines it as as the pinnacle of fairness, yet the same ugly emotions still stir within us, as they have forever. The game is the same. Outwardly, you must seem to be prudent to respect the nice you must seem to respect the niceties, but inwardly, unless you were a fool, you learn quickly to be prudent and to do as Napoleon advised. Place your iron hand inside a velvet glove. If you like the courtier of times gone by, you can master the arts of indirection, learning to seduce, charm, deceive, and subtly outmaneuver your opponents. You will attain the heights of power. You will be able to make your You'll be able to make people bend to your will without their realizing what you have done, and if they do not realize what you have done, they will neither resent nor resist you. To some people, the notion of consciously okay, so actually I'm gonna go back because there's a quote in red. Courts are unquestionably the seats of the quote. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Let me turn the light on. Courts are unquestionably the seats of politeness and good breeding. Were they not so, they would be the seats of slaughter and desolation. Those who now smile upon and embrace would affront and stab each other if manners did not interpose. Lord Chesterfield, 1694 to 1773. To some people, the notion of consciously playing power games, no matter how indirect, seems evil, asocial, a relic of the past. They believe they can opt out of the game by behaving in ways that have nothing to do with power. You must beware of such people, for while they express such opinions outwardly, they are often among the most adept players at power. They utilize strategies that cleverly disguise the nature of manipulation involved. These types, for example, will often display their weakness and lack of power as a kind of moral virtue, but true powerlessness, without any motive of self-interest, would not publicize its weakness to gain sympathy or respect. Making a show of one's weakness is actually a very effective strategy, subtle and deceptive in the game of power. See Law 22, the surrender tactic. Another strategy of the supposed non-player is to demand equality in every area of life. Everyone must be treated alike, whether their status and their strength. But if, to avoid the taint of power, you attempt to treat everyone equally and fairly, you will confront the problem that some people do certain things better than others. Treating everyone equally means ignoring their differences, elevating the less skillful, and suppressing those who excel. Again, many of those who behave this way are actually deploying another power strategy, redistributing people's rewards in a way that they determine. Yet another way of avoiding the game would be perfect honesty and straightforwardness, since one of the main techniques of those who seek power is deceit and secrecy. But being perfectly honest will inevitably hurt and insult a great many people, some of whom will choose to injure you in return. No one will see your honest statement as completely objective and free of some personal motivation, and they will be right. In truth, the use of honesty is indeed a power strategy intended to convince people of one's noble, good-hearted, selfless character. It is a form of persuasion, even a subtle form of coercion. Finally, those who claim to be non-players may affect an air of naivety to protect them from the accusations that they are after power. Beware again, however, for the appearance of naivete can be an effective means of deceit. See Law 21, seem dumber than your mark. There is nothing very odd about lambs disliking birds of prey, but this is no reason for holding it against large birds of prey that they carry off lambs. And when the lambs whisper among themselves, these birds of prey are evil, and does this not give us a right to say that whatever is the opposite of a bird of prey must be good? There's nothing intrinsically wrong with such an argument, though the bird of prey will look somewhat quizzically and say, "We have nothing against these good lambs. In fact, we love them. Nothing tastes better than a tender lamb." Frederick Knight's, 1844 to 1900. And even genuine naivete is not free of the snares of power. Children must be naive in many ways, but they often act from an elemental need to gain control over those around them. Children suffer greatly from feeling powerless in the adult world, and they use any means available to get their way. Genuinely innocent people may still be playing for power, and are often horribly effective at the game, since they are not hindered by reflection. Once again, those who make a show or display of innocence are the least innocent of all. The only means to gain one's ends with people are force and cunning. Love also they say, but that is to wait for sunshine, and life needs every moment. Johann v. Goethe, 1749 to 1832. You can recognize these supposed non-players by the way they flaunt their moral qualities, their piety, their exquisite sense of justice. But since all of us hunger for power, and almost all of our actions are aimed at gaining it, the non-players are merely throwing dust in our eyes, distracting us from their power plays with their air of moral superiority. If you observe them closely, you will see in fact that they are often the ones most skillful at indirect manipulation, even if some of them practice it unconsciously, and they greatly resent any publicizing of the tactics they use every day. If the world is like a giant scheming court and we are trapped inside it, there is no use in trying to opt out of the game. That will only render you powerless, and powerlessness will make you miserable. Instead of struggling against the inevitable, instead of arguing and whining and feeling guilty, it is far better to excel at the power. In fact, the better you are at dealing with power, the better friend, lover, husband, wife, and person you will become by following the route of perfect courtier. See Law 24. Hold on, let me look up that word so I just know how to say it from now on. Courtier. Got you. By following the route of the perfect courtier, see Law 24, you will learn to make others feel better about themselves, becoming a source of pleasure to them. They will grow dependent on your abilities and desirous of your presence. By mastering the 48 laws in this book, you spare others the pain that come from bungling with power, by playing with fire without knowing its properties. If the game of power is inescapable, better to be an artist than a denier or a bungler. Learning the game of power requires a certain way of looking at the world, a shifting of perspective. It takes effort and years of practice, for much of the game may not come naturally. Certain basic skills are required, and once you master these skills, you will be able to apply the laws of power more easily. The most important of these skills, and power's crucial foundation, is the ability to master your emotions. Take note of that. The most important of these skills and power's crucial foundation is the ability to master your emotions. An emotional response to a situation is the single greatest barrier to power. A mistake that will cost you a lot more than any temporary satisfaction you might gain by expressing your feelings. Emotions cloud reason, and if you cannot see the situation clearly, you cannot prepare for and respond to it with any degree of control. Anger is the most destructive of emotional responses, for it clouds your vision the most. It also has a ripple effect that invariably makes situations less controllable and heightens your enemy's resolve. If you are trying to destroy an enemy who has hurt you, far better to keep him off guard by feigning friendliness than showing your anger. Love and affection are also potentially destructive in that they blind you to the often self-serving interest of those whom you least suspect of playing a power game. You cannot repress anger or love, or avoid feeling them, and you should not try it. But you should be careful about how you express them, and most importantly, they should never influence your plans and strategies in any way. Related to mastering your emotions is the ability to distance yourself from the present moment and think objectively about the past and future. Like Janus, the double-faced Roman deity and guardian of all gates and doorways, you must be able to look in both directions at once. The better to handle danger from wherever it comes. Such is the face you must create for yourself, one face looking continuously to the future and the other to the past. For the future, the motto is, no days unalert. Nothing should catch you by surprise because you are constantly imagining problems before they arise. Instead of spending your time dreaming of your plan's happy ending, you must work on calculating every possible permutation and pitfall that might emerge in it. The further you see, the more steps ahead you plan, the more powerful you become. I thought to myself, with means, with what deceptions, with how many varied arts, With that industry, a man sharpens his wits to deceive another, and through these variations, the world is made more beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave that here. Um, I have to go to some job orientation. So when I come back, I might read. But this was the preface. This wasn't even the first law, so I don't know why I have this up here. Thank you for sticking with me. If you stuck with me actually this far, bro, you're a legend. You're a goat. I don't know how you just listen to me ramble and talk your ear off, but just mess up the whole time. So I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Like, subscribe, follow my other socials, and I'll catch you in the next one.